intrinsic relationship between my world, its creator, and me. This gives me the strength to write this letter. It is not the letter of the second daughter-in-law of the family. In those times, when none other but the Creator knew about my destined relationship with their family, my brother and I, still mere children, fell in with typhoid. My brother died, but I survived. The women of the neighborhood remarked, "None is a girl after all, else she's alive. Had she been a boy, she surely would not be alive." God of death, Yama, is adept at stealing the most valuable things of life. The day your distant relative, an uncle of yours, came to see me with your friend Hiro as your potential bride, I was only 12. We used to live in a remote village miles away from the city. One could hear the horses' howls during the day. He would have to take the carriage from the train station for 7 miles and then ride the buggy for another 3 to reach the unpaved roads of our village. You were also harassed that day. Then, to bear with our cooking, a culinary style from Bangladesh. Your uncle hasn't forgotten that torture even to this day. The first daughter-in-law's lack of beauty had to be compensated by the second daughter-in-law, or so was your mother's dictum. Otherwise, why would you all come to this remote village miles away from the to look for a bride for you? In Bengal, there is no dearth of jaundice, typhoid, amoebic dysentery, or even written. They all come in punks of you, never wanting to leave. My father had heart palpitations. My mother started praying to the gods. How would the priests of this remote village satisfy the gods of the city? They could only rely on their daughter's beauty. But I was not conscious about my beauty. So you see, a woman's worth is determined by its highest bidder. No wonder women of beauty and intellect are still so insecure today. It took you no time to forget that I was beautiful. But you had to pause and ponder every moment to reckon with my intellect. That intellect of mine was so natural that even after spending years in your household, it is still intact. My mother was always very worried about my intelligence. It indeed is a cause of concern for women. But what can I do? The Almighty has unwittingly bestowed an abundant amount of intelligence in me. Now, how do I return that to her? I also had something that went beyond your humdrum household chores. I wrote poetry in secret. However simple or trivial they may be, that was where I could be myself. I could be free. Whatever I had in me that went beyond just being a second daughter-in-law, you didn't appreciate any of that. Not even recognize any of that. Therefore, the fact that I'm a poet has remained unknown to you in all these 15 years. My daughter died right after she was born. Had she been alive, she would have brought me completeness. Only a mother can transcend from the personal to the universal. I felt the pains and pangs of motherhood, but did not enjoy the freedom of motherhood. During my childbirth, when the British doctor came to see me, he complained about the disturbed post-delivery confinement quarters. There is no dearth of decorative items or good furniture in your household, but the confined quarters of the newborns is quite another matter. It is like the other side of your royalty. There you see no privacy, no beauty, no elegance, no grace. The light is rather dim in those quarters. The wind indent her stealthily. The dirt and dust from the back porch always remains, and the filth and grime of the walls linger on a constant basis. But then the doctor had made a slight mistake. He thought perhaps these things cause us incessant pain. When your self-respect diminishes, then the uncaring attitude of the loveless state seems very natural. That is why there is no pain. That is why women are embarrassed to feel pain and show hurt. That is why I say, if women are born to be inflicted with pain, then it is better to leave them in a life bereft of any love, loving affection. When one is showered with love, then the unhappiness of losing it becomes even more unbearable. No matter how you treated me, I never thought of thinking that I was unhappy. What is it that we have in life that we have to fear its loss and death? When I was delivering my child and was almost at death's door, I wasn't fearful. If the god of death, Yama, had truly called on me that day, I wouldn't have resisted, but would have willingly come away with him like a patch of grass that can uproot itself from the soil so completely. Women are so ready to die every day. But what is so heroic about this death? Today I am embarrassed to die because death is so easy. My daughter appeared and disappeared like the evening star. I then went to the care of my animals and the chores of my household. Life would have probably continued and ended this way. But the wind brings with it a little seed of the tree that finds itself in the concrete cement of the walls and then is cracked open by a sapling. The sapling cracks through the brick mortar, the walls, the cement, the concrete, and fractures the chest. In my household of strong concrete, all of a sudden, there appeared a little seedling of life, and then the cracks appeared. After the death of her widowed mother, our eldest daughter-in-law's sister, Bindu, came to seek shelter at our house because she was trying to escape the torture of her male cousins. You all thought of it as a big nuisance. My insolent nature, what could I do? I realized how upset and disappointed you all were with her. My entire being empathized with her, understood how she felt and wanted to support her. How insulting and embarrassing it is to seek shelter in someone's house, much to their dislike. How could I turn away someone who had to bear such insult and humiliation just out of sheer desperation? I realized the plight of our eldest daughter-in-law. At first, she had felt sorry for her sister and had asked her to come and live with us. But then, when her husband didn't approve of this, she pretended that Bindu was an unwanted burden. She did not dare to openly show her love and affection for her sister. This was all due to the loyalty towards her husband. She blatantly demonstrated that she had actually got Bindu for a very cheap price. She gave Bindu the plainest of clothes to wear and meagerly food to eat and made her perform every household chore like a servant. For our eldest daughter-in-law, Didi, there was nothing to boast of in her life than for her to take pride in her large upper caste family. She has withdrawn herself from all matters of your household and occupies a tiny, insignificant space in your family. I, on the other hand, cannot consider myself so insignificant. I cannot alter my perception of what I think is good simply because somebody else thinks the opposite. I took Bindu under my wing in my room. Our eldest daughter-in-law remarked, Our middle daughter-in-law is brainwashing the girl of a poverty-stricken family. But I knew that in her heart of hearts, she actually breathed a sigh of relief. The love that she could not show her sister, I showered over Bindu. Now I was the troublesome one. You know, Bindu was so plain looking that if she ever hurt her head and fell on the floor, one would feel sorry for the floor instead. That is why there was nobody to bring a proposal of her marriage in her parents' absence. And who would even want to marry a girl of her stature? Bindu came to me with fear and trepidation, as though if she touched me, I wouldn't be able to withstand her touch, as though she had no right to live and be in this world. That is why she would try not to cross our paths, but walk by without even throwing a glance. In her parents' house, her male cousins weren't even willing to allow her a tiny little space for her to live. Needless, unimportant things always find a tiny nook or cranny in our homes because we tend to forget about them. But Bindu was such an unwanted burden who was not only undesired but difficult to forget. So when I asked Bindu to come to my room, she shuddered. I expressed to her very tenderly and lovingly that she always had a tiny space in my room. But my room was not just mine, so it wasn't an easy task for me. A couple of days later, Bindu developed some red rashes or prickly heat rashes all over her body. You all thought that it was smallpox. You had no proof of it, except that she was Bindu. A novice doctor from your locality came and said, it would take another few days to diagnose what the real problem is. But who had the patience to wait for another few days? Mortified and embarrassed by her illness, Bindu at this point was at death's door. Her eldest daughter, a sister, pretended to be sickened by her illness and started making preparations to send her off to a cheap, dirty government hospital. I declared that even if it were smallpox, I would stay with Bindu in the post-delivery confinement quarters.